is good, YouTube family? It's your boy Roshad, and we are back again. Got another video for y'all. Yo, this Resident Evil movie, gonna be doing a review for it real quick. Resident Evil, Welcome to Raccoon City. I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. I'm gonna do kind of like 2 reviews in one. I'm gonna do spoilers later, okay? So you can feel free to watch like the first half. I'll tell you when I'm getting into spoilers. Man, this movie is kind of like you're gonna fall into 2 camps. Either you don't really know much about the Resident Evil games, or you do. If you don't know the games, you're gonna think this movie's pretty good. You know, you probably give it like an 8 or maybe 9 or 10. A lot of people just give everything 8, 9s, and 10s. Some people think I give everything 8, 9s, and 10s. I don't agree. Well, I'm telling you right now, this movie ain't gonna get that high of a score for me because I know the games, and man, they have a lot of callbacks to the games, but the movie itself, there's a lot of stuff that wasn't right, and I'm gonna get into that. So the overall premise of the movie is like they kind of take the story of Resident Evil 1 and 2 and they kind of combine it together. So the story of like Resident Evil 1 is like it's like Jill and I think Chris Redfield, they like go to this mansion, and apparently like there's all kinds of chaos happening at this mansion. They find zombies and stuff like that. So that's in this movie. And they also have Resident Evil 2 is kind of something that's supposed to be happening like simultaneously or close to simultaneously, where there's like all this drama at the police station where you play in the games is Claire and Leon. So all of those characters are here. And they kind of play out both of those stories simultaneously with like a couple of different changes that they made just to kind of make the movie flow in the direction that they wanted. But here's the problem. The characters were freaking garbage. Now, the Resident Evil characters from the games weren't like all these just really amazing characters or anything. It took them a while and a couple different games to really flesh out the characters. But the way that they did them was just dirty, man. Like, I thought they did them poorly in the other movies, to be honest with you. Even though I like a lot of the other Resident Evil movies, you know, don't thumbs down the video too fast now. I'm gonna talk about that in a little bit, but they did the characters so freaking horribly. They had Jill, Claire, Chris, Leon, and Wesker, and all of them was garbage. All of them. It's all trash. I was like, what the hell happened? Just the way that, I think like, Claire was the only one who was like, she was okay. You know, they kind of made her like some sort of like badass in the movie. I have no clue why, because I don't think she's like that in any of the games. I played like dang near every Resident Evil game, like all the main games, of course, because there's all these spin-offs and all this stuff. But she was like kind of the coolest one. They did freaking Wesker so dirty, like he was more like a freaking football jock. Like he was like super tall and muscular, and you know, like the chicks, I think who was it? Claire was like infatuated with him, and Claire was nothing like Claire from the games or even any of the other movies. It's like they just kind of made whatever personality that the writers and directors felt like doing. They just made up a personality. I don't know what the hell was going on. And they did Leon. Leon was a total pussy in the movie. He was like always afraid, and he didn't know what to do. He was so indecisive. And I guess I just don't get the purpose of like making a character like that. And they tried to give him kind of like this like little redemption arc where he kind of like levels up a little bit throughout the movie, but it just didn't work for me. And if y'all see the movie, y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. He acted like a total wuss from the first scene dang near to the last scene of the movie. It was just freaking ridiculous. I couldn't believe that somebody thought that would be a good idea. It's like you would have to think that the director and the staff would think, if you know anything about the games, like Leon's like one of the most cherished characters to the series. So of course people are gonna be like, yo, what the hell did y'all do to Leon? Like Resident Evil 4 is like the most critically acclaimed game in the Resident Evil series, like period. And he was really cool in that game. Now you go back to Resident Evil 2 where he was introduced, he was like a rookie police officer, and he was a little bit more green, but he kind of like developed a lot faster, and he wasn't as much of a total wuss as this Leon, because there's so many stupid things that he did in this movie. Like, he was so indecisive. It was just ridiculous. The only person who was the least bit likable was really Claire. And they had a couple other like callbacks to like other characters. Like that's the thing about this movie. It was very much like they put like so much stuff from the games in it, but it just didn't kind of like follow the games. They just put a lot of stuff from the games in it, much more so than the old Resident Evil movies, where they came up with the character Alice and kind of had her story, which never happened in not a single Resident Evil game. But those movies, some of them were actually good. Whereas this, I feel like would kind of be like near the bottom by comparison to those movies, believe it or not. Like the action, there really wasn't that many action scenes, especially not compared to those crazy movies with Alice and her doing freaking flip kicks and slow motion sequences and all that stuff. There was just straight up like zombie action in this. Nothing too crazy. A crap ton of zombies, some pretty inescapable situations. So there was like some good tension and stuff. But you kind of already knew like, okay, if you know the main characters, you pretty much know who's going to survive or whatever. And you pretty much know that a lot of other people just won't. Like there's a couple surprises like, oh, I didn't know this character would survive. But, you know, for the most part, it's pretty, if you played any of the games, you're pretty much already going to know what's going to happen. And there's a couple deviations, but mainly just the characters and their personalities. That's kind of where the problem is. The music in the movie was really freaking interesting. It was very different. It almost sounded like a game. It sounded like they were trying to base it more around the games themselves. So they definitely did their homework when it comes to the game. But the problem was that the characters themselves, they really screwed up. Cinematography was pretty good. Nothing amazing or anything. The CGI, sometimes it was like really excellent. Sometimes it was like, you know, it was like okay. There was nothing like particularly horrible, nothing particularly amazing. There was like one particular type of enemy, which I won't spoil, that looked really good, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But I'll go ahead and give my score, and I'll repeat it later in the spoiler section. But essentially, man, I don't know. I just couldn't get this movie. Originally I was thinking a 6, but I think I got to go down to like a 5. So 5 out of 10. I just can't give it no higher than that. I'm sorry. I know some people might have actually really liked this movie, and I do think it's enjoyable. If you're just kind of like a casual, and you just want to see a movie, and there's nothing else to watch. Yeah, sure. You definitely go see it. It's definitely not a bad movie. I don't think a 5 is a bad score. That's just like it is. Definitely average. It's certainly not above average. If you've seen like all the other zombie movies and zombie types of movies, especially the other Resident Evil movies, I feel like most people, to be honest with you, I think they would like those movies better. Even with all the plot holes and the story's not making sense and it not being related to the games, I think most people like the fact that there's more action in those movies. This movie was a lot less action, but it was hella creepy. I'll give them that. It felt creepy, felt some tension, but it didn't really do much for me outside of that. So 5 out of 10. Now I'll go ahead and talk about some spoilers for anybody who's sticking around. You should have dropped some likes on the video and subscribe if you're new, okay? So the way that, one of the things, I kind of had decided at this point that I just couldn't let this whole character thing go as far as like how I was going to think about this movie. Because like Leon made such stupid decisions. Like there's a time when, okay, he's like on his headphones, and like there's a guy who I guess is transforming into a zombie. He's got the illness or whatever, and he's driving, he crashes, and Leon's just sitting there, and like he's in a police station. There's like literally a tractor trailer driving toward him. They crash right before they like plow through the front, and essentially would have killed him if they would have plowed through the front, but they crashed right before they got there, and the thing explodes. Leon doesn't even notice at all. He's like got his headphones in, he's just chilling, and I'm like, bro, what the hell? Like that was just totally stupid. Then somebody comes in who's on fire, and I can't remember if he noticed at all, and then he's like, hey, what's going on? And he just was acting like a total idiot. Another time, it was like this guy in prison, and he's like this conspiracy theorist, this crazy dude, right? And so the guy's in prison, and he's like, hey, get me out of here. And this is after all hell already breaks loose, and Leon's like walking up to him. He like goes close to the prison cell. I already knew how this was gonna happen. He goes close so he could talk to him instead of staying far away where he could shoot him if stuff pops off. He goes close, and the guy takes his gun away, and I was like, bro, I mean, I get that that's like poor writing, but it's like just the way that they wrote like the character to be such an idiot. I don't know what the hell they were thinking. I really don't. If they were gonna do that, I wish they would have just came up with a new character and just like, okay, we need a dopey, dumb character. Like, okay, insert dopey, dumb character. Don't like take a character who everybody really likes and then make him like some stupid, dumb idiot. You know what I mean? Like, it just didn't make any freaking sense. I don't know what the hell they were thinking. Claire was cool again. Jill seemed to not have any personality. Her role was basically like some sort of love interest for Wesker, who I didn't really talk about in the non-spoiler section, but she didn't really do anything in the movie. Like, I mean, there's really like nothing that interesting that really happened with Jill, which was very disappointing. I'm kind of weirded out by the choice for the actress for her. I don't know. Like, she was okay. She was not like a bad actor, but it definitely didn't give me Jill Valentine vibes. Like, I certainly wasn't feeling it. She really didn't kind of have like, I don't know, she just didn't have that Jill vibe like at all. Like, if anything, I feel like they might have nailed Chris actually. I didn't really talk much about Chris. They might have nailed him because he kind of seemed very similar to how he was in the game. So, you know, maybe I give him a little bit of props for that, but the way they screwed up Leon, Wesker, and Jill was just such a travesty. I just don't know if I could get past that. And I don't see anyone who enjoyed the games appreciating that. They might enjoy the movie, like, oh yeah, sure, it's a fun movie, but man, if you enjoy the games, absolutely not for most of those characters. I'm trying to remember what else happened. They also had Lisa Trevor, if y'all remember, if anybody played like Resident Evil Remake, the first one, the first game's remake, I remember, so they had that character. I didn't really remember that. I kind of had to look it up, but it was kind of a pointless inclusion. It was just kind of this character who was like really spooky looking. Some had the ability to, I guess, disappear for some reason at the very beginning of the movie. Like, the character like disappears out of nowhere. Like, Claire goes looking for the character and they just disappear. So I'm still kind of confused about what the hell happened right there. Maybe somebody could tell me, let me know in the comments if anybody knows. But I'm kind of confused about what was going on. They had like liquors and would have one liquor, which was, you know, that was kind of an okay sort of fight. They had William Birkin in the movie, and you know, he like transformed, and what I was talking about was like the CGI. He had all this crazy looking CGI. I don't know which side it would end up being on, but it just looked really freaking awesome when he's like halfway transformed. It was like bubbling up on his shoulder. It was like, ugh, like it just hurt my stomach to look at. It looked real, but I don't think he looked as good fully transformed. You know, that's just me. You know, maybe I'm being like overly critical, but I don't know. Those are my thoughts on it. So, I mean, I enjoyed all the callbacks to the movie. I feel like this would have been a nice first attempt at a movie like back in what, like the 90s, you know, but for 2021, I honestly expected a lot more. I feel like they could have did way better. Very low budget movie. Definitely doesn't seem like it could be anything close to like the older movies with like Alice. I feel like even that very first Resident Evil movie, in my opinion, is much, much better than this movie. That's just my opinion. I feel like that movie, I would at least give that movie, I actually really like that movie. I give that movie like a 7 or 8. That first Resident Evil movie from way back, whenever the heck that came out. But this one, I just can't get more than a 5, man. I feel like this is probably like worse than all of those other Resident Evil movies. But that's just me. Let me know if you disagree. That's my opinion on it. I feel kind of sad because I was really excited to see this movie, and I was hoping that I was wrong. I know a lot of people were talking crap about this, but they were right. Shit was trash. Well, I didn't give it a trash score, but it was trash to me. So it is what it is. Anyway, y'all, hope y'all enjoyed this video. If you did get a video, like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and hit the notification bell so you get notified whenever I post new videos and new reviews. Definitely doing Spider-Man, so be on the lookout for that. I think there's another movie coming out. I can't remember what it was, but I saw a preview yesterday for another movie that's coming out like around the time of Spider-Man. So probably gonna be 2 movie reviews coming out, and there's gonna be like a spoiler and non-spoiler. I'm gonna split those up, so be on the lookout for that. 'Cause I'm gonna see Spider-Man the absolute first opportunity that I can see it, because I'm dying to see it. My favorite character. So anyway, y'all, appreciate y'all watching. I'll catch y'all next time.